For years, he thought the pastor was like an uncle to the family, a spiritual mentor, always around, always checking in. But one night, everything changed. He came home early from school and heard whispers from behind the living room door, heard laughter, heard silence, and then the sound of footsteps scrambling. What he saw next made his blood run cold. His pastor and his mother, seated too close. They were breathless, they were startled like they had been caught. But it wasn't just what he saw that ruined him. It was what he overheard the next day that confirmed his fear and broke something in him forever. This is that real story. Today's episode is one that is, how do I describe it? Very interesting, and it's something that is not uncommon in our communities. It is about how Daniel's pastor was having an affair with his mother. This was a man he saw as a father figure ever since his father died, and he also saw him as a spiritual leader to a lot of people. Now, if today is your first time here, please do well to like this video, share this video, and also leave a comment on your thoughts by the end of this video. And also do well to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Without further ado, let us get into the story. Daniel was brought up in a very religious home. His mother was a single parent since his dad passed away when he was just 8. So his family was anchored on faith, was anchored on fear of God. Morning prayers, they had it. Evening devotions, they had it. Sunday services, they attended them. And these were the sacred rituals in their small but peaceful home. So they did this very often. Now, Pastor Akin came into their lives during the vulnerable season. He was new in town, he was young, he was charismatic, and was very warm. And he had a way of speaking that pulled people in, especially women. So Daniel was just a child, but even as a child, he noticed how the pastor visited them often. So at first, he thought he was always just coming to pray, and then maybe eat, and then maybe spend some time checking on the family, in quote. So Daniel didn't mind. In fact, it was like he really liked the man. So Pastor Akin was a very generous man. He bought him school bags, he bought him shoes, and once he even paid off, he paid part of his WAEC fee. So you can just say that Pastor Akin had always been there for John, and of course for his mother. So over time, the visits increased. His mother laughed more whenever the pastor was around. She dressed differently, she was more careful with her outlook, and then whenever he knew he was coming, she would prepare very delicious meal. So Daniel began to notice all of this. But even though he noticed, he was never questioning any of it. I mean, why would he? It was just Pastor Akin, his father figure and spiritual leader, and of course the man that had always taken care of him. So there was no point suspecting anything until one Thursday. On that one Thursday, Daniel had closed earlier from his tutorial class and decided to surprise his mom. So he entered the compound hoping to get some food and nap before his mother got home. But then he saw that her car was already parked in the compound. That was strange for him. She had told him she was not coming home early. As he tried to open the door, he heard laughter, not from the TV. To him, the laughter was too personal. Then he also heard whispers, he heard silence. Anyway, he walked in. The sitting room felt quiet. Pastor Akin and his mother sat awkwardly apart. Of course, they were too far apart to be casual and too close to be innocent. So on seeing him, the mother was surprised. So she said, Daniel, how come you came home early? So at that point, she stood up, she tied her scarf, and of course, Daniel could sense that something was not going well. So over the next few weeks, he paid attention, and the signs were all there. It was written all over the place. These were the same signs he had missed for years. The knowing glances, the long phone calls, the late night visits under the guise of urgent prayers, and sometimes his mother would also disappear to church for entire evenings without explanations. Still, Daniel said nothing. He had no evidence, just a sinking feeling in his gut. Until one day when the confirmation came, and it came accidentally. One Saturday morning, he overheard a phone call. His mother thought he was asleep. She was in the kitchen and then she was whispering while talking. So she was on the phone with someone, but Daniel wasn't sure who she was on the phone with. And she said something like, "No, you can't come today. Daniel suspects something." So there was a pause for a moment, and she said something like this again. "I don't know how long I can keep this up." Then there was silence again. Then this time, In a very soft voice, she said, "I miss you too." At that point, Daniel froze, and that was it. He got the proof that he wanted. That was the one sentence that shattered every illusion. So, days later, Daniel confronted his mother. He didn't yell, he just asked, "How long?" For a moment, she was silent and then she broke down. She confessed, actually, that started years ago, that she was feeling lonely. She said that the church judged every single mother unfairly and that she needed someone. And that was how she and Pastor Akin came together. Daniel felt like vomiting, and then he said something like, he was supposed to be your spiritual leader, not your lover. At that point, his mother started crying, and then she said something like, "I didn't mean to fall for him." That particular line stayed with Daniel for many months. So after that incident, things at church got really awkward. Daniel stopped attending, his mother kept going, and many times Pastor Akin would call Daniel, but Daniel wouldn't pick up the calls. In other words, he stopped picking his calls. But one day, Daniel heard his mother arguing with the pastor in the backyard. She was trying to end the relationship. At that point, he realized that the pastor had become too bold, too demanding, and too careless. So it was as if the pastor didn't really learn from his mistakes. But then again, the relationship ended. But the damage had already been done. In any case, Daniel never hated his mother, but he couldn't see her the same way again. And the betrayal of trust from somebody he sees as his father in the Lord left him spiritually confused. He stopped going to church altogether for a year, and eventually with time started to heal, but it was very, very slow. Even though he forgave, he never forgot. So you see, sometimes betrayal comes from those we really trust, those people we put on pedestals. It comes from people who should protect, not exploit. And when this happens, they won't cut deeper than words can actually explain. Alright, we've come to the end of today's episode. And as always, I want to ask you a question based on today's story. Have you ever discovered something about a trusted figure, somebody that you really trusted, like a teacher, a leader, or a relative that broke your heart? Like they did something, or you discovered something about them that actually broke your heart. I want you to share your experience in the comments. Someone out there might just be able to relate. Okay, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and also share it with someone who needs to hear this. And also don't forget to check out other true jaw-dropping stories that I've shared on this channel. Until next time I come your way, stay blessed, stay safe, and be happy. And always remember to be nice to people. Take care of yourself, and bye for now.